Ivana Millen. Alright, so in this video we're going to discuss fourth dimension and how it correlates to humanity and why the majority of humans are at fourth dimension and live in that construct of thought. So I talked a little bit about in third dimension what happens is that our foundational structure in society kind of keeps people boxed in and they can't go beyond and see. And if you look at a physical representation, so I was talking about third dimension in my last video about that. So people are stuck inside of the cube. They cannot see what's beyond the walls, literally beyond the veil. And then in fourth dimension, what happens is people start to actually see what's beyond the material veil of this world. And how that plays out is that people are basically rebelling against the systems that are in place. So you have people leaving certain factions of society, such as religious organizations that they used to belong to, and then it kind of no longer aligns to their views. And then you have also political people, don't vote, they don't trust the government, they start to see through it. That's the thing too, is when you enter into the fourth dimension and when you literally are out of the cube, you see all the lines connect and you start to see the truth, because the third dimension is really about the sacral. It is the solar plex, the solar plex. So it's all about that area of power, of domination, of that's your center where you have the power. And then the fourth dimension is the heart, is the fourth chakra. So in fourth dimension, this is why people are saying, oh, like we're coming into the Christ consciousness and things like that. It's because literally people's hearts are opening up finally and are allowing the perspective to exist of another soul around them. So what happens is these old systems of thought, such as in education, such as in religious organizations, such as in the government organizations, in military, people are turned off because it no longer aligns to their values as a soul. When now in fourth dimension, what happens is, like I said, your heart opens up. You start to interconnect with others. You start to see that interconnection play out. I gave the example about, how if a Christian is brought up by a pastor that is stuck in the box about religion and about God and everything that's going on in the world, they might be brought up to hate Islam or hate Muslims. And a person of fourth dimension who can see beyond that material aspect of looking at religion from a very narrow viewpoint and stuck in that box that ego subjective soul created for themselves, that fourth dimensional soul that is looking outside of the box will be able to look at that preacher and be able to say, hey, okay, I know where this person is coming from, in the sense that they can see into their life. They literally can see into their soul, in the idea that they're reading their vibrations, they're reading the energy of that pastor, and they're saying, well, this person probably has just had some fearful experiences, or is coming from a place of fear, is coming from a lack of understanding about the universal divine that is within all religions. So a lot of people are leaving their religious organizations because when you're a fourth dimensional soul, those third dimensional society organizations don't really they don't match up to your own values and how you view the world. So people have left these organizations and they have found spirituality in other ways. They have looked inside of themselves. Now, if you look here, in fourth dimension, if you actually look at the constructs what happens is now beyond volume, because you have length, width, height, and volume. Now beyond volume, it extends out more. It extends out further into other dimensions. So so that's why the veil is being thinned in a sense, and people are starting to contact with other extraterrestrials that live in those higher dimensions, such as the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, the sixth dimension, seventh. It's all starting to come through. So people that are sensitive and that are at the fourth dimension in their consciousness thought, and they have allowed themselves to step outside of that box, then they are coming into into terms with meeting these types of entities, or are also are just open are just open to more information coming in than just what is inside of the earth right now. Because literally, if you think about earth as being in, I like this, I gotta use my visual tool here. If you think about earth being inside of that cube, if you think of earth being inside of the cube, and how you have the leaders trying to keep everything, all outside information out, so it doesn't affect the masses and it doesn't destroy the platform of monetary gain that they have, then what ends up happening is in fourth dimension, you have the earth, it's connecting. It's connecting out, it's extending out. So there's bridges, energetic bridges that are actually being created by the fourth dimension souls that are seeking outside information, that are looking to find something that aligns with their spirit and their soul. Because like water, water always tries to level itself out. So we are much like water in the sense that our souls try to find everything that kind of aligns to us and feels good, because we want to live our truth. We want to live out our lives in alignment to our values and who we are as people. And so the majority of people are in the fourth dimension, but there are some souls that are still in 3D. And a lot of it has to do with being connected to the leaders, being connected to those organizations that are trying to further those agendas to keep people trapped for monetary reasons, really, and a little bit of fear that they have, because they haven't been able to see what's beyond the material world. They still have a fear, so they want to keep their material bodies. They have a fear. They don't have faith that something better is beyond the material earth. So a lot of it is by fear, but a lot of it is also to control and to keep people working for them so that they can have their assets and their monetary gain that they are looking for. So, exciting times we are in, where the majority of Earth is in fourth dimension, and we have individuals that are waking up from 3D, coming out of those old systems of thought, and they're in now fourth dimension, and they're a little bit rebellious. They're a little bit like, anonymous, and a little bit like the protesters and activists that we see in the world that constantly speak out, because the organizations and the foundations of society don't match with their values. So that's why they are activists. That's why they are putting their voices out there and speaking out and trying to bring forth higher dimensional thought into reality. They're trying to bring forth truth. They're trying to make the truth align to who they know they really are in their soul, and how interconnected we all really are. Because when you're out of the cube, you start to see that the lines all connect, and you start to feel that interconnection play out. And so you want the systems that are working for you to actually align to that value, and to align to the idea of being interconnected, and trying to establish peace for all, and to have a sense of respect towards one another as souls. Because when you're in the fourth dimension, you start to see each other as a divine spark of God, as you are. So that's where namaste comes in, and you see them for who they really are. And this is where you can start to be more peaceful with one another and start to live out in respectful ways. But it only gets better because 5 Dimension is coming, and I have exciting news for you all. So Hanan Lei for listening, and I'll see you on the next video.